God damn.
Cue the music.
Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it.
Listen,
Fellas,
it's
it's
just
gonna be one of them nights.
it's gonna be. I'm telling you.
What's up, fellas? Man, another Tuesday night at 9, man. Prototype Dad in the building, man. It's happy to see our fans. It's happy to, just make it to another Tuesday. Everybody don't make it here. Um, hey, yo, let me throw this out there. Prayers to our fallen soldier. You know what I'm saying? He having a hard time. You know what I'm saying? So prayers out to him. You know what I'm saying? He's always, come back whenever you're ready, my brother. But yeah, man, it's Black History Month, and it's an interesting segment today, man. I kind of wanted to dig into um, not your typical Black History message. Typically we hear about the same stories over and over. This guy, that guy, who's first woman astronaut, blah 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 blah. First this, first that. I'm kind of giving it away, but I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? But let's get into it though. How you guys doing? All right? Y'all all right?
Man, I'm good, man. I can't complain.
Yeah, man. I'm holding up, keeping on, keeping on.
All right, cool. Well, let's get into the first question. Uh, is being the first black still a flex?
Depends what they did. It depends what you're doing.
Elaborate on that though, right? Because you still see that, like, I'm the first this, I'm the first woman to do this, I'm the first black man to do this. Are we still flexing with that in 2024? How you feel about that?
So definitely it is, but I think it was very interesting something that you just did, and I've noticed this because what you said was, "Am I the first woman? Am I the first?" Like I've seen that there's almost like a whole intersectionality between being a woman or being a black woman and being black. It used to be like, "Oh, I'm the first black this," or like there's this whole intersectionality that comes now with that. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it's something positive, obviously. Like the first thing that comes to mind for me is, if you're doing something that, it seemed like at one point was unattainable for black folks. Yeah, absolutely. It's still a flex. So kudos to you for doing that.
What you got, Lee?
So yeah, I think it is a flex, and it's I don't know, it's weird at the same time because it's like, man, it's 2024 and we still talking about first black stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy to me. But then when you think about it in terms of numbers, it's like, okay, well, it was this civil rights movement 80 years ago. 70, was it 60, 70, 80? I don't know how many years. It's somewhere around there. Was that 60 years ago? No, 60.
Yeah,
years
so we're
ago?
gonna say what it was in the 60s. So 16,
Yeah,
60, 2000. Yeah, about 70 years ago.
About 60, yeah, about 60,
64
60,
years
70.
ago.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? You just think about it. It hasn't been that long, but you think in terms of the way they portray the progression, you would think there would have been a lot more of these first, maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And the fact that we're just hearing about some of these first still now is a little crazy to me. So, you know what I mean? Big up my wife. She was the first elected black woman to be elected to council in our hometown. So, so that was
we all
big.
we all know the hometown.
Man, you know what I mean?
Kudos
So,
to her.
you know how that was a barrier. And there was, I think there was a black guy, kind of grew up with his son. He was a little older than me, but he was the first black man, and that happened earlier, maybe in the 90s or something like that. And he was the first black man elected to council, and he served as council president, I believe. But you know what I mean? We're still getting these first. You know
Wait,
what
you
I
talking
mean?
about Mr. Connor?
Nah, it was Daryl Bell.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know Daryl Bell.
Yeah. So you know, it's
You remember D Bell?
Yeah.
That name don't ring a bell.
No, that don't sound
Ring a
familiar.
bell
to me.
for you?
he grew up over on Woodstock, so he was over off of
Okay.
Woodstock.
Yeah, that
down
show.
by
We were
down by
just
Melrose.
talking about that
Yeah.
today. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? That was that. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how there's still all these firsts that's coming out, and you know, after it's supposed to have progressed so far, but you know, and I think I mean I talk to my wife all the time. I tell her right now. I said right now is one of the greatest times in America for Black women, man. I mean, it's the gates are open for achievement in so many different ways. So, yeah, man, it's good to see it. It is a flex, but I hope to see more.
Hold on, dig into that a little bit, because what wasn't they able to do since black men were able to do it?
Well, it's not that they weren't able to do it; they just weren't selected. You know what I mean? And now
The
they're
country
being
wasn't ready yet. Yep.
yeah, they're being selected more in these roles. I mean, if you look at it, even now we have a Black Indian vice president woman. You know what I
A
mean?
woman
Like
of color. We have a woman of color as a vice president.
So you know what I mean. So the country has to be ready for it, and there has to be, especially when you're talking about gatekeepers. You know, they have to be the ones pulling people in. So you know, there's just so many more open doors for women of color right now. I just for women in
So,
general.
Are,
So
are,
you know,
are
I
we
totally
dropping
agree.
the lines of celebrating black, regardless if we're a fan or not?
I don't know. I'm not sure I'm clear on that. What do you mean?
So if I don't agree with Kamala Harris's views and blah 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 blah, right, and the way she does things, are we still celebrating that? I mean, in February are we coming together? Oh, but we celebrating black. Is
you
that
make
what
a
we
very
doing?
good point. You make a very
I mean,
good
I
point.
can
because we're-
celebrate the individual and still not agree with what they do. Like I could celebrate an achievement. Like getting in the position is one thing. What you do in that position is a whole nother thing. So I mean, I can celebrate the historical context of that achievement and still not agree with her on a foundational level. I mean, I could separate those two things.
That's a very clear-minded way to think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's kind of like bittersweet. Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things.
It's symbolism. You know, I always talk about that symbolism, politics, and like.
But how would
that's
you know if she didn't get in there? Like what she was really about, or what she was going
where
to
her
do,
track
what she was
record,
gonna say.
her track record
Yeah.
in California, and as the what was it? She with the not the district attorney, but it's her track record. I mean, she
Yeah.
locked up more brothers than the law allowed.
Right.
So that's what I mean. But
Yeah.
and that's what we're out. I would imagine we're going to speak to that a little bit when it comes to, is it really a flex or is it really something that we should champion if it's not really going to help us as a collective?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to touch on that a little bit tonight for sure.
My man Joe Lemon.
Yo.
What's good,
What's
man?
happening,
Happy to
good brothers?
see you, man. You know, just trying to
It's
live
good
the
to be back
dream
on,
the best
man.
way.
It's trying to be great.
So listen,
Working on it.
first question. I guess we kind of went. No, we still on the first question. Is being the first black still a flex?
Always. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, always, dog.
Look, Joe, you missed it. I caveated it. I said, depending on what you're doing. You know
That's
what I
a
mean?
fact, though. That's a fact, bro.
But
Because
yeah, like if you're doing something productive, absolutely.
yeah, I mean, like now you won't be the first one to be in the headlines for something wild, but like if it's something positive, if it's something that's gonna keep you out of, you know what I mean, out the whole brink, man. I mean, yeah, why not? Let's do it. Open the door up. Yeah. It's not easy doing it though, but yeah, it's good though.
Man, I kind of got I got these 5 intro questions before we really dive into giving our flyers, man. But I kind of don't have an order because I want them to flow. But I'm just gonna throw it out there, right? And I don't think this is the right order. But how do black leaders compare to other cultures' leaders?
Mm.
Yeah.
All right.
Hold up, time out. Give me a second. Leafer, what you got?
With pleasure. You know what I'll say about this, because I was thinking about it a lot today, because just thinking about black leaders today was difficult. You know what I mean? Like, I was really searching, like, who can I call a black leader? Because just because you're in a position of leadership doesn't mean you're a leader. And just because you're in a position of leadership doesn't mean you're leading for the culture. So, my thing is like, who is doing something that I can say, man, you are pulling people up with you. You know what I mean? You're helping people. You're not, being that negative gatekeeper that's like, oh, nope. You can't come in. You can't come in. You can't come in. Go ahead. You come on in. You fit the description, but so, man, and that was difficult for me. Come on in.
Hey, them hot butter biscuits.
So yeah, man, it's difficult. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's difficult because I don't, and like I said, it was hard for me to come up with a strong black leader that I could say today that's actually, leading for the culture, and that's like, and in a positive light, they're saying, you know what, I'm unapologetically black, and I'm gonna always be, doing this for my people, and making sure that I'm bringing people in behind me and mentoring and things like that. And I don't see a lot of that. So, and in some other cultures, man, I see that they are, and I hate to do this comparison with our culture to other cultures, because it's like, that we are who we are and they are who they are. But for the sake of the conversation, I'll dive in a little bit. In other cultures, you see it, and it's taught. I think it's taught more from the inception of birth, and they're raising and everything, that you are, you are to pull back, and you are to bring, your people up. I mean, and we've talked a bunch on this platform about, other cultures, doing group economics collectively, a bunch of them living in one house, pooling their resources together, and none of them moving out until everyone's able to get their own place and things like that. And just that style of, that mentality, that groupthink mentality is what is happening in a lot of these other cultures that isn't happening in our culture. It's, we have that culture of, as soon as you're 18, get the heck on out. You on your own. I'm done with you, type of thing. So, it's difficult. Our culture is definitely not that. And I think, without getting too far in the weeds, I think that's, of course, some remnants of slavery and this whole independent mind state, where it's now we're quote unquote free. We want to actually feel that way and feel like we're doing something on our own, and it's to our own detriment.
Man, I want to welcome on a longtime friend of ours, man, Avery Hawkins.
The Hawk, what's happening?
What's going on, guy? Oh, I muted you because he had some feedback. Hold up. Go ahead, you got it.
Okay, no, it's good to see everybody here, man. Good to be here, bro.
Man, we happy to have you, man. I'm glad you had the time to jump on, because some of the shows is aimed at some questions that you can particularly answer, closely. You know what I'm saying? So, we'll get into it later. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if you ever watched the show before, but we just kind of, we ask a question, everybody get a spin at it. We're on our second question, and it's how do black leaders compare to other cultures' leaders? You know what I'm saying? So what you just heard the tell in the Leafers. We're gonna go around the Mo, Joe, and then you're gonna come up on the rear on that. Pause.
All right. Word. Yeah. Appreciate that, homie. Appreciate that.
What's up, Mo? What you got?
So man, as I was thinking about this, a couple things came to mind. One, there's not many groups of people that actually have that responsibility of, okay, now that I'm successful, who else am I going to bring with me, man? Just from kind of personal experience, in my mind, only two groups that really bear that responsibility is, foundational Black Americans and Jewish folks. Other folks, they're like, it's about me and my family. Outside of that, they're like, that's not really my responsibility. So we're the only ones that kind of have that bear to cross. However, but with that being said, I mean, as I was kind of doing research for this, and I think we'll talk about kind of the criteria, it was almost a little sad, because one of the things I started thinking about, was like, because I guess one of the definitions we had, or one of the criteria was it had to be within the last 10 years of, I guess, what their impact was. And I was like, as I start kind of thinking about it, I was like, who's really doing something for the collective where there isn't a whole lot of incentive individually in what they're doing? And it was almost a little sad, because I was like, a lot of folks are just kind of, pandering in order to get themselves on and to get themselves in a position to really solidify what they have going on individually. So it was a little bit sad as I kind of figured that, as I kind of did the research for it. But I think we'll talk about it a little bit more going forward. But I just don't think there's much of a comparison, because other groups don't have that same responsibility that we, for whether it's real or not, that we put on ourselves once we make it.
What you got, Lo? Joe?
Bro, man, Mo, like, yeah, I could definitely understand, like, where you're coming from with that. And I think that as you were talking, I'm thinking like, well, is it bad though? You know what I mean? Or is that just a proper evolution of how you kind of go? You know what I mean? Because if we look back at history, there are things that, yeah, for sure, there's definitely times when that was like pushing us ahead, and then you can easily see when it was like, nah, they were just taking off the head every time. It was just people just getting like straight just assassinated, or they're getting thrown in jail. And so it's just if you look back at it, I mean, I think that definitely had its place. I just wonder if it still has its place today. And that's just playing the other side, because I definitely understand that us like being focused as a whole just works out better, I believe. However, though, a lot of times these days, if you can't take care of yourself, it's hard to take care of anybody else's needs. You know what I mean? So yeah. I mean, just playing the other side of that convo, I can see it being good too from that standpoint, because I can see more people definitely getting ahead from it. At least it feels that way. But I'm not sure if the actual data says that too, though. But yeah, it's just my thoughts.
Go ahead, Spin A.
Was that?
How do black leaders compare to other cultures' leaders?
I mean, it's a little question, right? Because it's like a lot of that stuff's based off of opportunity. I feel like a lot of the reason why our community may be lacking in a lot of leadership is because there hasn't been a lot of examples of opportunity being shown to the masses, to our people, right? So it's a matter of, being able to continually keep growing as a people, so we can continue to have those moments, so we can be able to put more people on. I think now it's starting to get to a point where there's starting to be a better collective, where people want to work together more. People want to create opportunity for people more. I'm not sure if you guys have talked about some of the stuff that my brother's doing, but he's doing a lot of big things as well in the tech space and in the VR space, and being able to put other people on. It's a genuine mission of his. And I know everybody that's involved with his company. It's a genuine mission to be able to provide opportunity for not only just Black people, for women, and a lot of other different people and all the different minorities, but specifically Black people. It's a Black-owned company, so being able to put Black people on is a very important mission of the company in itself. So being able to have ideas to be able to put people on is important. And I think, like I said, being able to see people operating in that space is usually what creates, the creativity to be able to get the funding, to be able to get people to get put on in the first place. But you also want to put people on that are also in the space that you're trying to put people on in, right? Because it's like, if you put people on that aren't necessarily ready for the opportunity, whether Black or not, if the money in the bag's not got, then it's going to be a problem. So, I think it's a, preparation meaning opportunity. In our community, it hasn't been prevalent, but, I think it's getting better as we go along.
So I kind of wanted to push back a little bit about, it ain't a huge pushback really, but the individualism, not on you, it's kind of towards Mo a little bit, but it's not really. So it's like the individualism might be a positive sign, right? Because those other cultures, they did have those kind of like the Irish, right? They did have that kind of, hey, it's all us versus them, pull ourselves up, until they got a foothold, right? Once they got a foothold, then it was just like, it kind of, hey, it's me and my family, and it kind of dwindled out. So it might be a sign of the right, you know what I mean? It might be a sign of good things like, hey, we're moving in the right direction. If people could go back to only worrying about them and theirs, opposed to us as a whole, collection, culture, whatever.
So that's fair. The only problem that I see with that is that we never got there. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Because I totally understand, because that's why unions were created. You know, us for the most part, yeah, all of us being kind of from that Western PA era. That's how unions got started. And that's, you know, that's how they gave the Irish, you know, I think it was the fire department, and I think the Italians were the police. So they were able to kind of take hold of one industry, and then as a collective, they all kind of rose up. And then, you know, they got to a point of where they were able to sustain themselves. And then they were able to say, okay, well, now it's, you know, the Kennedys, I'm going to raise my kids to actually be president, and I'm going to be politicians and stuff like that. So we never got there. Now, granted, a lot of it wasn't necessarily self-inflicted. I mean, once we were getting to that point, they were chopping the head off the snake. So, but I just think that's a good plan, because we've seen it work. It's just we never got to.
We never got there.
Yeah, the rising tides didn't raise all boats, so we weren't able to do the things that we wanted to do to get to a post-racial society.
I thought I was muted when I said that, but so it kind of goes like you spoke a little bit about the next question, right? Y'all already know it was coming next, but what qualifies you to be a leader in the first place, right? Like, how did we like say MLK is a leader, Marcus Garvey's a leader, you know what I'm saying? Like, how did we say these guys are leaders? And I know at one point we was all kind of looking like, back in our young 30s, we was kind of looking like we had a three-headed like monster kind of coming up that just dissipated. Like, oh, these guys are crooks. What the heck happened? But I know when 10 years ago we were having conversations like this guy, and this guy, they must be about to be doing something great, and they never panned out. So essentially, what qualifies these guys? What qualified Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey? What qualified these guys as actual leaders? Leifer.
That's a good question, man. I think I don't know if it was about what qualified them. I think it was them having a message, them having a vision and a direction of where they wanted to go, and people willing to listen and follow that lead. I think you know, leaders don't make themselves. You know, it's the people collectively who are willing to listen to you and follow you who make you a leader, and your ability to galvanize that. So I think, you know, I don't know, because I have, you know, a little bit of issue with with early Martin. You know what I mean, and his leadership style, and that little passive leadership style, but leadership nonetheless. You know, he served a purpose at the time, but I think really, you know, it's your ability to be able to speak explicitly and concisely, and to communicate your vision, to get people to, you know, to understand and see what, you know, to be able to visualize what you're saying, you know what I mean, and be able to see what you're seeing, and they're willing to follow you to the ends of the earth. I think those abilities are what makes a leader, and what made them leaders. Like their willingness to lay down their lives. Like, I will die for this. And I think that will get a lot of people up to follow you, and be willing to run through a brick wall for you.
That's crazy, because all it is speaking, all it is talking, and the ability to. I want everybody to finish, but I'm definitely keeping that as a note, man. But go ahead, Mo. What you got?
So, man, Leifer made some really good points. And the one thing that it blows my mind, and like you said, I know where you were going with that, is the fact that trying to empower a group of people can get you killed. That's crazy to me. Like, that's insane. I mean, we weren't talking about Black supremacy. We were just talking to get like basic necessities handled from a collective for a group of people, and they're like, nah, that he got to go. Like that's bananas. Like, but because of, you know, obviously that means we made some headwinds. The fact that it's unfathomable for us to even think about that. But it was a reality for those people of that time. But as far as the criteria, one of the things that I wrote down was to be able to progress collectively while sacrificing individually. by no means am I saying you need to die and lay down your life. Like that's a lot. Like no wonder like we don't have a lot of leaders. Like if that's the criteria, like I'm good, I'll pass on that one. So I totally understand that. You know, you're trying to move the needle in a way that's gonna uplift the majority, not just you and your crew. So I think that's a good criteria. And being able to have enough of a following, and that's more of this generation's vernacular to say that a following. Back then they didn't have social media, but they just had the influence of enough people to where they actually had the ear of enough people where they could go to power and say, hey, I speak for the masses. This is what we want, X, Y, and Z. And if we don't, we're good. And you could actually have enough of a influence to walk away and you can hurt somebody in their pockets or whatever the case would be. Or in this case, maybe a vote. Like we're not voting if we don't get X, Y, and Z. So I think those are kind of really two criteria. I'm going to take out the whole part of being willing to lay down your life. That's a lot. So I'm going to remove that. But those two criteria are definitely a good starting point for sure.
What you got?
Yeah, man. What I was hearing too, though, Mo, while you're talking, is like just having them, you know, empowered. If you can like empower the people to actually make a move, like take action, is like I feel like becoming hard to come by these days. You know, especially with so many things going on in the world, it's hard to kind of even know what everybody's doing on a regular basis because you get so much information coming your way. And really trying to gather a real movement that doesn't get distracted or doesn't get at least kind of broken up along the way is like a challenge, right? Like you think about X and you think about MLK, them cats, I mean, they weren't popular back then either, from what people said. Like, you know, but 30% was a lot. 30% buying, you know, what was out there, that's a lot. I mean, I could imagine if I getting 30% today. Can you imagine if I getting 30% of the Black population to kind of jump on a movement? Like it had to be something that was really, really extreme. So
I think they
you
get
think
that
so?
though. Yeah.
Who
For something
got 30%?
positive? For something positive?
Popeyes chicken sandwich.
No, I mean, I think there was more Black people on board with BLM than we realized.
I mean, all right,
there was marches all over the country over that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
I think the skeptical ones were the few. And when it came to that,
I'm not sure it was 30%, bro. You think it was 30%?
I would say at least the majority of the women were all on that movement. There's more women than men. That's more than 30%.
But you didn't have all of them, so
that's
no. So
you had a lot of them. Nah, you had a lot of them, bro. Like on that train.
And then you got a lot of scared Negroes too. You got a lot of scared Negroes too. There's a lot of scared Negroes that wasn't willing to go out there and get their head cracked. You know what I mean? So let's be clear. And then you got another sector of that talented 10th that's living comfortable and like, man, I'm not about to lose what I got.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the 1%.
So just those two sectors, like that's how you
that sector is the 1%, bro.
No, not 1%.
I
would probably fall in that. I'd probably fall in that. I'm nowhere near 1%. Right. And I was like,
we are in the 1% of Black people. We were moved.
I ain't about to go out there and catch COVID or catch a strains. Like,
the only person I know still on the ground is Leifer. That's the only one I know that's still touched with where we're from. And Abe, I don't know what college you coaching at right now, but he's been living the college life since college.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're removed, so it's just like, oh, hold up, yeah. Oh, you muted. Hold on. Yeah. What was you saying?
No, what y'all was just saying about movements, man. Like I think to be able to connect, like somebody that can concisely, say ideologies that the people connect to, they can create a following based off of just being truth tellers of it. Stuff that we know to be truthful that people won't say. Those are the people that people want to follow. People that are fearlessly truthful about things that are hard topics, but also the people that can match their life to what their ideologies are. And that's
a big part.
We're quick to follow those people because we're like, oh, he's saying the right stuff and he's about that. So I want to follow him. So yeah, I think that's how you get leaders, real leaders at least.
I was gonna say too, man, like 100% with that, like being able to be transparent, and it's got to be truthful these days. Like you can't be preaching one thing and then doing something totally different, because that might last a good 90 days. You know what I mean? Like somebody's gonna see something, somebody's gonna hear something. But do you think that they can get 30% today though? 30, like you think somebody could jump up?
I think 10 years ago,
Yeah.
10 years ago, boys could have got 30%.
Wait, what?
10 years ago.
Voice or boys? What do you mean?
Boys. What is it? Boyce Watkins, or what is his name?
Yeah, Boyce Watkins. Yeah.
Yeah. 10 years ago. If he would have stayed on the beaten path before he was just like, oh, this dude. You understand what I'm saying?
Make sure everybody knows who that is first.
I think 15 at max, bro. I mean, but bro, like 15 is a big number, bro. Like
It's significant. That's significant, and that
big
proves
number,
that
dog.
how unattainable 30 is. So Boyce Watkins, he was like the first Black financial leader in our current field, right? And keep in mind, what ended up happening was he used the gatekeepers to get him in, being the Breakfast Club. So he used those gatekeepers, he got in, and the problem with him was I want to say he was the first Black PhD in finance in the country. So he was speaking here. And the problem with him was it was so over a lot of people's head that a lot of people didn't catch it.
I don't think that was the problem. Hold
on, let me finish. So he was talking over a lot of people's heads, because I remember I was like one of his disciples for a long time, because I was preaching financial literacy, and as I'm like giving game to my homeboys, I would see that look in their eyes. They'll be like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, they're not ready, or they just don't get it. And then lastly, as you start kind of, and I hate that we do this to our leaders, but as we start kind of looking into their life, and we're like, "Oh, I see what you're doing." After the dominant society didn't rock with you, and you got all you could get out of them, you came back to us and came and did the Chitlin circuit. That's where it became really difficult. But because ideally, I thought his message was dope, and I was like, "Oh, I like it. I like where he's going with this." And then as I started kind of seeing I remember I was one of the first people to buy his courses, and I'm putting people on.
I think that was the breakdown. Was we bought into the courses and didn't get what we was expecting. At least for me, that's what turned me off to Boyce.
But here's the thing: he knew what he was doing, because he knew, because my man taught MBA level finance. So the average Black person who was his target audience, they don't have basic financial literacy. So if he was to come in at this level of education, he was going to miss the masses anyway. So he dumbed it down, and that's where I had a higher level, and I was like, "Oh man, I just paid all this money. This was remedial." So it was just one of those things where it's really tough that what we do to our leaders. Like you can't please everybody, but at the same time, the loudest ones in the room, that's why you gravitate towards them, because they have the loudest voice. So it's unfortunate that we do that to our leaders.
So did everybody spin on that one? On that question? Who didn't go?
You ain't touch it. Yeah.
We good? So I didn't touch it?
No. I don't think you spoke on it. So the speaking thing is pivotal, right? That's one thing I struggle with. So I mean, but it's one of those things, like if you could like there's a reason why pimps are bad, right? They got the gift of the gab. You know what I'm saying? If you could use that power for good, so I think speech is important, right? Being able to articulate being able to articulate everything you need, like to identify with people, and express that to people who you think matter, that can get some movement. I think that's definitely important, and that's how you get people aboard. I think the second one is probably impossible, right? And it's having that clean profile, that unblemished standard of I didn't waver. You understand? Because nobody has that. Like there's not one
that has that. Like, you know what I'm saying? We digging up new kids from MLK. Like, oh, this. Wait, you a son too? You was just born 2 years. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we digging up bones on the leaders that we did have. So it's kind of one of those things like who shows or who keeps integrity. I think integrity is a huge part of it. Discipline is a huge part of it. I think if you could speak, show the people you have discipline and integrity. I think those would be the leadership skills you need, right? And outside of that, and the ability to serve and the kind of make a play that will feed everybody, that everybody can eat off, right? Bring the water source to the community. You know what I'm saying?
That's the key. Because us digging in
the play.
Yeah, because that's the problem that I feel we have in our community. Like, we want our leaders to be messiahs and they need to be squeaky clean. Like, they're just humans. Like, whatever their mission is, like, as long as they're progressing as they're moving the needle for the collective in that direction, that should be enough. But we want to dig into their past and their personal life and be like, oh well,
because you want to believe it though. You want to believe the story. Like, you want to believe it.
As Black folks, man, we're too emotionally invested in stuff. That's the problem. We need to stick to whatever the mission is. Like, run the play, like, do your job. That's the problem. Like, we're like, oh well, I heard he had a freak off before I Have a Dream speech, so that has nothing to do with the impact of the speech. Like, stop digging into people's personal life when it comes to their profession. And I think we'll be better off if we do that.
So let's kind of, you know what I mean, we 30 minutes in. So let's start into giving these flyers. And I want to introduce two people first that I've been doing a little bit of research on, and then I'm gonna kind of call in the Avery ticket, right? So there's a reason why. So the first dude I want to bring up is a guy named Mark Dean, right? So he's been collecting patents. Like, he's not somebody within the last 10 years. He's somebody that from like 87 until now has been like hitting marks over and over. So he like created like a computer chip for color screens, you know, back in like 87 IBM days, and he got the patent for that. But he's been knocking out patents all the way up until recently last year. Dude from Tennessee. I can't. Let me just spew off some of the patents this dude has. The color video display, composite video color. That was in 84. Microprocessor hold and lock, you know. So that's the kind of stuff that interests me, you know, me being in IT. And he's still doing stuff like that. Like, his last patent was a real-time monitoring, you know. He's doing some stuff in AI, and that was like in 2019. And the reason why I want to bring that up is because Mr. Hawkins here, his brother, is actually using some of his patents and his technology in his VR space, in this VR game. And it's actually it's wild because it's an idea I had and wanted to create back in college, where you can actually I know you know a little bit more about it, Abe, but what is it called? Something Pro, right? It's called Status Pro. Oh, you wearing a hat? Look, yeah, it's called Status Pro, where you can actually, you know, get real time, like you can play the game real time, and, you know, from a VR set, and you can practice reps or whatever. And the fact that they've been able to get NFL, you know, teams to buy into this kind of stuff, and, you know, already using it, and now they're putting it out like as a video game, that type of stuff. It's all built on top of one leader in the industry to now a new kind of breed of technology using that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna let A speak more about it, but yeah, I just wanted to introduce those two people first, you know, just so we can get that squared away.
Well, yeah, from my knowledge, the company's called Status Pro, and obviously it operates in the VR headspace, Oculus, I think the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation VR. But it used the technology, like you said. It used some of the spatial technology to be able to create some of the AR that's on there. So it's a new thing because it's basically just a game where you're inside the game. Once you put the Oculus on, the technology that he used to be able to use the different radar and different sonar that he used to be able to use it on the VR space, it's like you're in the game. So it uses the space that's around you, and he did a good job designing the stadiums and whatnot. That's also on the Headspace. So I mean, it's first of its kind, just because you can play the game and operate within the game. A lot of times when you play Madden, you're playing with players, but with his technology, it's like you're inside the game. So it's fresh, it's new technology. It's something that's like that hasn't been done before, and it's Black owned. So it's pretty cool.
How was he able to break into that kind of space?
Well, a lot of time he was just pulling a lot of his resources. I mean, him being a former NFL player. I mean, to think about his road and trajectory to that level of being able to play on football, he was not a person that was, I'm pretty sure you guys met him at one point or another, back in the day. He's not a big guy. He's very what's the word I'm looking for? Or I can't. He's a smaller guy, so I mean, making it to the NFL was a long shot in the first place. So for his mind, he was always looking for the next thing, even before he made it to that goal. So while he was hitting the goal, he already had another goal, and it was like, I think a lot of times it's, people like that are born. They're not made necessarily. Now I think you can work and get yourself into a space and be inspired by people like that, like you said, and then I think it just trickulates to the whole community, right? It helps people to get other opportunities. But how he got to that point is he was just always planning for that situation, and he always had a dream to bring this game to fruition, even as a younger man. So the NFL, a lot of the stuff that he did, he was pulling resources, and always, it was his pet project, his pet baby, his brainchild. So he
was always on it. He was working on it even when he was playing.
While he was playing. So it was something that he was always working on. So, a lot of people always ask, that question, like, how do you get to a situation like that? And a lot of times people are always chasing things, right? Like, we're always chasing like the trends, like, this will work because everybody wants this now and wants that now. I know from personal conversations that was the furthest thing from his mind. He just had a goal, and the biggest thing about it was just making it come to fruition. And it wasn't about what was trendy. It was, what was about passionate to him and what he thought would work. And that's something that was just like based off of what was hot now, right? So, I think that's why the details of it were so good, because it was something that was meticulously made, and that something that was like an overnight thing, right? So,
no, that's solid, man. Like I said, I think that's a huge thing on how one Black tech can form into tons of other opportunity, right? It's the making the move where we all can eat from. You understand what I'm saying?
There's so many different people that are involved within the company. There's game art and design people that help out the game. There's graphic designers. There's marketing. There's all different types of different parts of different industries that are all coming together as one collective for the tech. And I can honestly say that the majority of the people that are involved are minorities, and namely black and African Americans, as our people, as we like to say. So that's
I'm trying to get in, Abe. I'm trying to get in, bro.
Hey, man, everybody is, man. But it's still growing, it's still going, but it's been real successful, man. And that's probably why, just because the meticulous nature of it. But the tech, like you said, all the patents and stuff, they were out there, but to be able to be creative with that tech that's out there is also something that we don't get a lot of examples of, right? So it's like seeing somebody, close to me, and even guys and a guy that you met as well, it's inspiring to see, because it's like, wow, that wasn't impossible. It just took ingenuity. It just took creativity.
It took some time, yeah.
It took some time, but it's possible for anybody to be inspired by that and to do their own thing, because the tech was out there, but to being able to pull it out together is something else, right? So being able to put your resources and everything, that's how the moguls are made, right?
Period. What you got, Lee? Who you want to introduce to, to get the Flyers to?
You know what? As I was looking through the list of a bunch of people, and one of the people who wasn't on that actual list that I was looking at, but I've always kind of been, I guess, impressed by what he was doing, and I like his ideas. Is Byron Allen, man. He's been in this space of these networks, these TV networks and things like that, just trying to put out, you know, our content and things like that, and buying up networks every chance he get. I think he's still out there trying to throw some money to get Paramount and BET. But you know, he saw the opportunity to get in that space by buying the Weather Channel, and he's been putting out content on the weather. Who would think? You know what I mean? You get the Weather Channel, you just think it's just, you know, weather updates and things like that. But he's putting out, you know, like real local content. So, you know, definitely want to give him his flowers, man, because he's been creeping and crawling and trying to backdoor his way into these network spaces in order to put our content out there. So I definitely want to give him his flowers.
Mo, what you got?
Look, before I get into mine, man, so I came across the Byron Allen pick, and I was kind of torn because as I talked about my criteria, it was one of those things. I was like, I'm not sure if it's about us, but it's really about him. But no, I agree. Like, I'm glad somebody actually picked that up and they acknowledged him, because he's doing amazing things. You know, and he's fighting against that so-called boogeyman that's out there, because he was trying to buy BET. They blocked him from that. He was like, all right. So he went and tried. Now he's trying to buy the parent company, which is Paramount. So, man, kudos to him, man. I hope it works out for him. And I think I'm maybe even changing my criteria when it comes to that, because I'm like, oh, well, if he's individually benefiting from it, maybe I should take him out. But no, but if nothing else, you can inspire somebody else that looks like you just by getting your bag. So, you know, man, I take it back, and I'm kind of recalibrating my definitions from that standpoint.
I don't know. So I like that criteria though. Of we all eat from it though. I like that criteria.
I mean, you know,
like bring the water source to the near. You know what I'm saying? Then now I could farm and then somebody else could, you know, water the plant, whatever. Like I like that criteria. Don't take it out.
Okay, so mine is kind of like a 1A, 1B, and I'm only going to touch on the 1A really quickly because y'all kind of already talked about an inventor. And for me, man, it was actually Lonnie Johnson. He holds the most patents as a black man. This is somebody I actually met at a premiere last year. He's the inventor of the Super Soaker, worked at NASA for a long time, and actually has an innovation center here where he teaches, you know, minority children about STEM and stuff. Like, he's a really deep guy, man. So if you're not familiar with him, definitely look him up, man, and support whatever he got going on. But he's actually really dope. So I won't touch on him too much because we actually kind of already hit inventors. So somebody else that it's really important to me that he kind of gets the shine that he deserves is Tariq Nasheed. And the reason I pick him is because what he does is, man, he kind of gives us the history that the masses won't tell you about. I remember, he talks about, he's the creator of the Hidden Color series. He also did something that I thought was epic. He did a documentary on the Haitian Revolution called 1804. That's something, and I call myself to be very well versed in Black history, and I had no idea about that. So, and that's the story of the Haitian Revolution led by General Toussaint. So, man, just him putting out the material that can kind of awaken the brain of people that look like us, I think is really dope. He also created the Hidden History Museum out in LA, so people can actually see it, feel it, touch it as they're kind of learning. So I think that he's a really dope dude. And actually one of the pet projects that he has going on now is trying to get reparations going within the US. And right now he's focused on getting it in California, and they've actually got it to, I don't know how their government works, but essentially the way it was compared to is he got it through the California Congress, and now like the California Senate has to kind of bless it in order for it to come to fruition. But he's actually spearheading that, and he's a big thought leader in that space. So that's definitely somebody that I think is definitely worth looking into and supporting whatever he has going on.
I know I didn't give you the homework, Joe, but you know, do you got anybody that comes to mind that you might want to like get your flowers to?
I mean, man, it's gonna be somebody that everybody already knows, but I mean, I just think that the model is something that almost kind of like the opposite end, Mo, honestly, where it's like, man, put something together that works. And then if you put something together that works, you got to build a team around it. But then you got to like find people that want to work it with you, right? Like, I mean, and so I still like Robert Smith, man, a lot, man. I think what he's doing is just pretty much buying businesses, flipping the businesses. He's not really an inventor. He's not creating new things as of today, from my understanding. I mean, but like the model is something that I think that we can all like look at and then aspire to say, all right, is there something that's already working out there? And then how can we make it better? How can we make it more profitable? And how can we bring it back to us? So yeah, I'm still like, I think he's doing some dope for the whole community, bro.
I don't know if you want to spin again. I got another group of people that I want to kind of put out there. I don't know if everybody know about these people, but the first person I kind of want to bring is Dr. Burns Banks. This woman, she's from Mississippi, dog. I think she like desegregated like one of the first high schools in Mississippi. Then went ahead and like, of course she's degreed up, right?
Yeah.
Of course she's degreed up, but she done a lot, and I'm gonna touch a little bit on it, right? So she also started a pediatric agency in Texas. It's like one of the highest medical like pediatric agencies in the state or whatever. So that's doing really well. It's with this woman even having these degrees, doctorates, starting these agencies. What she did with her sons, right, is the real flex for me. She sent her kids to military school, and if this is not like, so one kid ended up being like a helicopter pilot in the military, the other one ended up being a lawyer, and now these two dudes, like the Burns brothers or something. I think they go by, or like industry moguls in the DC area. Like they just opened up like a co-op workspace where like it's like big as a firehouse. But you know what I'm saying? Like you have like, it's something, it reminds me of what Nipsey Hussle was trying to do. You remember how he was trying to put together that co-op workspace?
Yeah.
It's like they took that idea and actually was like, he's gone, I'm gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think they kind of like use, it's not necessarily to, I mean, yes, it aids Black people, right? Because it's a place for, it's our vibe, right? It's a place where we can come together, it's the we work kind of an atmosphere, but it's with the Black vibe, you know what I'm saying? And there's like memberships you got to pay, blah, blah, blah. But you could come in, have your business meetings, and then have your event, throw your event. It's an event space. They have a collection of things that's, running out of this thing. On top of that, like they have like a couple other businesses. So that's called like the HQ House in the DMV area. And they have something called like the Koi Collective, Manchester Park. They got a podcast called Icon Talks. They have like a fashion line called Style or something like. So like they're really like it's that, right? It's not only was this woman able to be excellent herself, she was able to pass that on. Because many times we talk about raising toothless tigers. You understand what I'm saying? Where we're raising these kids to take on the baton, and we're just not successful at it. Like they grow up weaker. They just don't have the drive, the passion we did. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that she was able to transfer on that passion into her sons and be like, hey, y'all, I'm great. Y'all go be great. And they took it and ran with it. And that's what I admire about that woman. You know what I'm saying? Even though, yes, she's accredited up. You know what I mean? What y'all got?
Who up? Anybody?
Pull up anybody.
I bet. So look, the criteria was that they had to be 10 years or like, I guess their impact should be 10 years in coming forward. So it was a little tough for me, but I found some folks. So the second person that I had was Tommy Duncan. Man, dude's a giant. Joe, you might have heard of him because he's kind of in the healthcare space.
I have.
So yeah, man, dude is
he's with like Jet Medical, right?
Yeah, Jet Doc.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's the founder. He's the founder and CEO of Jet Doc, which is he's trying to bring solid healthcare to everybody, specifically people in the underserved communities, because that's the biggest. You said that's the biggest thing. Like if you're not healthy, what does wealth matter? Like, oh, I'm getting money, but you die early. So he's trying to bring health or a solid health to health space to everybody that is in underserved communities. So I think that's pretty dope. And also, which unfortunately I haven't seen it yet, is Dame Dash actually did a movie on him called Prince of Detroit. It's something I really want to see. It kind of tells his story, and from what I hear, he kind of comes from the same type of cloth. Whereas his parents were somebody great and they were in the healthcare space, and for whatever reason they lost it, and he brought it back full circle. So this is kind of was a passion project of his to kind of get back what his family lost. They ran one of the biggest hospitals in Detroit, supposedly. So yeah, Tommy Duncan, man, he's really dope. And the only reason I kind of ran into him and start learning about him like by accident, because I was actually following one of the prospective mayors here in the city, and he just happened to mention him in an interview, and he was like, listen, I came back to help the city, because he was mayor already, Mayor Kasim Reed. He was like, I was actually just coming back to help. He was like, trust me, I don't have to do this, I'm good. He was like, my main man, you know, Tommy Duncan, man, he just sold his company for $100 million. I was like, oh, like once I heard 100 M's, like it caught my attention. He was like, we could be on a yacht somewhere, I was just coming back to help y'all, but if you don't want me and Tommy could do that. So that's what made me even aware of him. And as I kind of went down that rabbit hole, I was like, man, this dude is kind of prolific. So definitely, man, one, look into Tommy Duncan. 2, check out Jet Doc. And then lastly, if you can, I guess you probably need like Dame Dash Network or the American New to check out the movie that's inspired by him called Prince of Detroit.
So this is really dope, because we always think like, because Nipsey did that, right? And we think all hope goes with one person.
Right.
And it doesn't. Like there's so many more people out here making moves. We're just, because they're not rappers, we don't see it. You know what I'm saying? I know A's brother, he probably gets some leeway because he has a name from being in the NFL. But even still, once you're out the league.
What other person I wanted to mention along with my brother is his co-founder, Troy Jones. He was somebody that worked in NFLPA. He's also a former, college football player, like ourselves. So he was a quarterback in college, and he's a co-founder of the company, man. He's also somebody that, along with my brother, I mean, to see two brothers, two young brothers, not just my brother, him as well. To see them operate in that space, and just to be able to pull, they both have pulled from resources that they developed from a whole nother industry to make it work. So I just wanted to shout him out too, because he's also equally as inspiring as my brother. And also being a young black man like himself, I think the way they roll and carry themselves also helps us out, as far as a people goes, just the professionalism of it. So I just wanted to shout him out too. That's all.
No, Aiden, I think that's dope. So, and this kind of goes full circle for me. Like, I remember being at the Metro Index camp where Andy actually got his. Right. I don't know if I knew you yet, Abe, but what happened was, so my brother-in-law was actually at that camp, and it was literally them two, and there was nothing about them two that was like they're going to the league. There was nothing about that. Right. So, with that being said, and I always talk about inspiration, I think. A big shout out goes to y'all oldest brother, Artrell, because the fact that he did it first, y'all had somebody to follow. Big facts. So I think that probably helped.
Big facts, man. I'm glad you mentioned that, man. I mean, it
didn't inspire Abe though.
It definitely did.
In other ways,
I was inspired by the wrong things, man. Apparently, but yeah, man. I mean, just being able to be inspired, like my older brother was a big inspiration. Not just for us, for other people. You know what I mean? And I had an older cousin that played for the Steelers that was a really big inspiration for everybody in our town, Carter Hasserig. So, like
super wrestler.
The super.
He was amazing.
Super Debo, man. That was super Debo, man. But yeah, man. Just being inspirational, man. That's a big deal too.
So that's one thing we didn't necessarily touch on was like politics. And it's like,
that was my next one though.
Okay, cool. If you got somebody, man, throw it out there, because we be lost.
Yeah. So for me, man, the next one is, man, Barack Obama, man. I know he gets a lot of hate over man. Hey, that man did
go for the jugular like that?
Yeah.
He go for the big card?
That's the big joker. He's like, hey, look, where you doing?
He said, actually, no, I'm gonna lay this big joker down.
Hey, Hey, Barack, man, he don't get enough flowers. Like, and that's what I always talk about our leaders, man. Like, we're so critical. Like, we're like, oh, what did he really do for black folks? I've even found myself doing that. I'm like, whoa. This dude did a lot. You know what I mean? And as he kind of even talks about his tenure as president, he's like, yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't get to get everything, out that I wanted to do as far as policy wise. But he was like, so you expected me to undo 400 years in 8? He was like, I mean, sorry. If that was the bar, I'm sorry I failed you. But he was like, I did what I could. And he did, man. If nothing else, inspiration. It changed the way people saw themselves and what they could achieve. So if nothing else, man, I applaud him for the accolades and the policy that he was able to affect the change. And then lastly, the inspiration that he provided. So, kudos to him.
No, I love it, man. I only like to keep y'all guys for an hour, and we just hit that mark. You know what I'm saying? So, I appreciate y'all, man. And this was a dope show, man. I'm gonna clip this up, man. I think we got so many jewels in this one, and I'm liking where we're going as a show. Hopefully, we can continue down this path of like keep giving out jewels, man. And yeah, that's another Prototype Dad, and we out.
Got it.
Peace.
Yeah, man.
What's good with you? Hey,